Hello and welcome back to Iceland News Review. My name is Josie Gaitens. I am a journalist for Iceland Review and we're here in Grundavik where we've got an update for you about the volcano and about Blue Lagoon. It's open and as well as that we've got some information about the recent election and weather that's been going on in Iceland. As you can see, it's quite cold. Stay tuned. So here we are in the town of Grundavik. And as of today, Friday 6th of December, it's about 1 p.m. As of right now, Blue Lagoon is officially open again. But there are some changes. This is the new car park for the Blue Lagoon. Might look a little different from how you might have remembered it if you've been to Blue Lagoon before. But as we've reported in our coverage of the volcano, the car park of the Blue Lagoon, the original one outside the facility, has been completely swallowed by lava. And so in order to open, the company has set up this system where tourists are driving here and then there are shuttle buses that will take them to the Blue Lagoon. There's also an opportunity to book directly from BSE in Reykjavik or to come from the airport and to do that kind of excursion that way. But no cars can drive directly to Blue Lagoon itself, and that's for the simple reason that there is literally nowhere to park. We've had a discussion with some of the staff working here today and they said that they're really struggling even to get deliveries in because there's just nowhere for people to go with vehicles, and so they're having to get things dropped off and taken through public facing areas, which they don't normally do. So this is the situation at the moment. But there's something quite nice about this as well. Obviously the area is still subject to potential further volcanic or geological forces, and everyone's very aware of that. There's an alarm system here if there is a need for any evacuation. But for the first time in quite a while, it feels like Grundavik is kind of a real place again. And we're going to go in a minute and chat to this cafe that people are queuing outside of just now and see how they feel about having people back in the town again. As of just now, the town is not officially open for people to live in, but as with a lot of things in Iceland, that's kind of your own responsibility as well. So there are some people who are living here, but the school isn't open or anything like that. And other than this cafe, the bakery is open partially some of the time, but it's still a bit of a ghost town for now. But it's really nice to just see some kind of movement and some lively action in the town. So we'll go and check that out just now. We're now joined by Bjarni. Bjarni, you're running this little cafe and pit stop in Grundavik, and you've just reopened.
Yes,
again.
We opened again 4th November.
Yes, with a small pause.
Yes, small pause, yes.
What does it mean to have this place open at this time?
This means the beginning, something. Just for me, it's just good to be back in some way, not to live here. I can come in for work, but to open it, this feels like something starting getting life back in the town, and especially now when the Blue Lagoon have started, there's a lot of life. So it's very good.
What exciting about having this kind of running again? What's hopeful for the future? Do you feel like there's a version of Grundavik yet to come?
I hope so. Yeah. I have always had that in mind, that they will open again, and just slowly. Yeah. It will slowly come again back to life.
Well, absolute best of luck.
Thank you.
And you can see you're sort of building up slowly.
Yes, slowly.
Preparing just
we
in
only
case.
have like food now and something to drink, and so a little bit of candy, but
very important.
Thank you.
Well, it's great that people know that you're here, and best of luck with your operations.
Thank you.
So we're now standing on the outskirts of Grundavik, and we're standing on a berm on one of these amazing earth walls that have been created to protect the town from the encroaching lava. You can see the lava here. This is not from the current eruption. It's from a few eruptions ago. We're getting quite used to them here now. But you can see in the distance this dark smoke that's coming up. That is the current eruption. And it is still currently active. It's not very active, but it is ongoing for now. But as Ruv has reported this week, it is going very slowly. The lava is still flowing to the east and southeast from the crater, but the advance of the lava's edge is slow. Over here you can see Grindavik, and you can see another one of these walls that have been built to protect the city. Obviously they can only do so much, but for now the town is safe, and we are here fully kitted out with all of our bits and pieces. I have my gas meter, a radio. The search and rescue and the police know that we're in the area. We inform them when we're coming. And then over here, just behind this mountain, is Blue Lagoon, which is now open. And we'll see how that goes, and we'll keep you updated if there is any changes. The gas levels are available as well online to check out, to make sure that you stay safe if you're coming to this area. But as previous eruptions, this original long fissure that opened up, which is what this type of eruption is, has now consolidated into more or less one crater, and lava production has slowed down considerably. So I doubt it's the last of the volcanoes in this area, but we'll just keep you posted about what else is to come. But talking of seismic shifts, we've just had our general election in Iceland. And I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in Icelandic politics here, and it is a complicated system, but I'll give you the general gist of what's going on. First of all, the actual election day was really terrible weather, which was expected to have an outcome, an impact on the number of votes cast, and also on the length of time it took to count those votes. But in the end, turnout was actually higher than average. 80.2% of the eligible voting public turned out and cast their votes. This obviously doesn't include quite large groups of the population who are living here. Of course, those who are not of age to vote yet, but also because a large proportion of the population here are immigrants. You have to be either an Icelandic citizen or to be from the Nordic nations and have lived here for a certain length of time before you're eligible to vote in the general election. And for many people who have chosen to make Iceland their home, who speak Icelandic, raise children here, teach in schools, clean the streets, do whatever, there still may be reasons why they do not become Icelandic citizens. Perhaps their home country does not allow dual citizenship, for instance. So there's quite a large proportion of the population that cannot vote and will never be able to vote while these rules remain as they are. So it's worth bearing that in mind when we look at the outcomes of this election. So, the Social Democratic Alliance emerged as the largest political party, securing 20.8% of the vote and electing 15 MPs. The Conservative Independence Party received 19.4% of the vote, 14 MPs. This is the lowest share on record, falling before 20% for the first time ever. They were part of the ruling coalition until this election, and their partners in that coalition, the Left Greens, are set to exit Parliament. This is a huge shift for them, and really it's the voting public sending a message about their unhappiness about the way that the Left Greens have governed and who they have governed with for the previous term of Parliament. The Pirate Party, who have held seats for 15 years, have also failed to gain any MPs. We'll get back to that in a second, but it's just interesting while we're here just to have a look at the way that the berms are actually holding up with the force of the lava and, of course, all the geological activity that's happening underneath. There's these amazing cracks that are forming in the earth. But all in all, this signals a significant change in Iceland's political landscape, with 34 out of the 63 seats in Alþingi, the Icelandic parliament, to be filled by new MPs. So we're going to see, whatever new government forms from here, we're going to see a really dramatic change. The leader of the Social Democratic Alliance, his Kristrún Frostadóttir, will be continuing coalition talks with the Reform Party and the People's Party. Kristrún received a mandate yesterday from the president, Halla Tómasdóttir, to form a government, and now is currently in talks with these parties to see whether or not they can come to some agreement. Kristrún highlighted priorities such as economic policy, healthcare, job creation, infrastructure, labour issues, housing and education. If you're thinking about what is going to be on the agenda for the new parliament. But there is another topic that is definitely on the minds of people here, and that is membership of the European Union. The Social Democratic Alliance and the Reform Party both support Iceland's ascension to the European Union. Kristrún has said that it hasn't been discussed yet, and that they're starting with shared priorities, but it will probably come up in discussion, and I'm sure indeed it will. The previous Prime Minister, Bjarni Ben, who's the leader of the Independence Party, has ruled out a coalition, seemingly, between his party and the Social Democratic Alliance, and saying that the options now are as follows. On one hand, to form a centre-right government, as the election results clearly call for. On the other hand, to provide a strong opposition to a new government from the minority benches. And yeah, here we are at the place where the lava crossed this earthen wall in previous eruptions. I don't know if that's a good analogy for what might be going on in politics, but certainly we don't know necessarily when we can expect this new government based on experiences from the past decade. It seems far from certain that a government will be established before Christmas. It tends to take around a month for these negotiations to take place, but there's examples of it taking much longer and taking up to 2.5 months, I think, in one case. We'll keep you posted. I'll do my best to swat up and figure out what's going on, but for now, we just, again, have to wait and see. We are now down at Grindavik Harbour, and there's some boats in the harbour, which is nice to see. I don't know how busy things are here these days, but this is a really nice area, and this cafe Bryggjan here used to do the best lobster soup. So unfortunately it is now closed, but we've come down here to talk about our next issue of the day, and that is whaling. Now, there's no whaling operation here, but if you're wondering what the government, the kind of previous government, the caretaker government, is doing in the meantime while it waits for a new government to be formed, this is it. So yesterday, Bjarni Benediktsson, who is the previous Prime Minister and the acting Minister of Food, Agriculture and Fisheries, issued a 5-year fin and minke whale hunting permit. This has obviously gone down not particularly well with environmental groups who have condemned the decision as undemocratic and harmful. Bjarni, on the other hand, maintains that he is simply following existing laws and legal consultation. The permits were issued to Hvalir HF for fin whale hunting and the minke whaling vessel Halldór Sigurðsson, which is owned by Tjaldangi apologise for my pronunciation, Chaltangi Ehawef for minke whale hunting. And the permits are valid for 5 years. This has previously not been the case in the last few years, that the only 1 year permits have been issued. But there is precedent for this. This was in the case in 2009, 2014 and 2019, the announcement notes, ensuring a degree of predictability for the industry. Bjarni also stated that he saw no reason to delay the issue of permits until a new government takes office. However, this feels pointed, particularly because the political parties that are currently engaged in coalition talks, which are again the Social Democratic Alliance, the Reform Party and the People's Party, all oppose whaling. So this is why this has become such a contentious issue, because to do this now, while there is no mandate for the government that's in place, with the new one currently in the works, regardless of whether or not it is truly legal, it feels undemocratic. And there has been a big public outcry so far. We've seen a lot of demonstration around anti-whaling in the past year in particular, and it's drawn support from many very vocal Icelandic significant figures, including people like Björk, and there have been concerts and events and all kinds of things to support the cause of anti-whaling. So the fact that these permits have been issued and issued for 5 years in particular feels like it's not exactly what people want. However, as Bjarni points out, it is legal, and there was advice issued this year in as much as that. What will come to pass with the new government coming into power remains to be seen, but for now that's 5 more years in which both fin and minke whales can be hunted by Icelandic vessels in Icelandic waters. So we've now come to the other side of Reykjanes Peninsula, and you can see off in the distance that is the volcano, and this road here that you can see along here, this road was originally the access to the Blue Lagoon. It's now been completely closed. You can't access it at all, and that's in part because of the fact that the lava from the eruption has covered the road, and it hasn't been fixed and reopened yet. The car park, which you also saw, has been completely covered with lava. We've just been told by some staff there that the plan is to build a whole new car park by Christmas, and this is a change of the original plan, which was to create an information centre in one of the earth mounds that protects or was attempting to protect the Blue Lagoon. So that's the latest information that we have on that side of things. But now to our last topic for this Iceland News Review, and that is weather. As you can see, it's rather cold, and it has been for a little while now, but we've had a really interesting winter so far. So the weather in November was sharply divided, with record-breaking warmth in the first half of the month, followed by a significant cold spell in the latter half that we're still experiencing some of the effects of now. And this is interesting because there was actually quite a lack of focus of climate-related issues in the debate and discussion leading up to the recent elections that we've previously discussed. Partially perhaps because there are so many other significant topics of concern at the moment, including the rising cost of living, post-pandemic inflation. These were kind of the main areas of concern for politicians to discuss and for voters that were raising this. But it's interesting because in part the climate, I mean, it's a huge issue, obviously, and it has been really strange of late. So we had these record-breaking temperatures in November. Unseasonable warmth nationwide, with many weather stations recording the highest average temperatures ever for the first 14 days of the month. And this is from the Icelandic Met Office. These broke November temperature records, including a strong southern gale between November 11th to 12th. And if you were here for Airwaves Festival, you will have remembered this storm. It was pretty intense. The highs were observed in southwest Iceland as 12.9 degrees Celsius. Akureyri in the north recorded 20.4 degrees Celsius at one point in November, and Grímsstaðafjöllum in northeast Iceland recorded 16.5 degrees Celsius. This is like quite extreme to have temperatures of exceeding 20 degrees Celsius in Iceland is just really, really unusual, and was marked with a really intense period of unsettled weather, which is what these warmer temperatures tend to bring in the winter. But then the month ended with average temperatures either just above or below the 1991 to 2020 norm, but below the past decade's average at most stations. And the lowest recorded temperature was minus 24.1 degrees, which was measured at Grímsstaðafjöllum on November 29th. So to go from, this plus... 16.5 degrees Celsius all the way down to minus 24 in such a short space of time. Really, really unusual. I've just come back from East Iceland this week. While I was there, it was minus 17 as low on one day, and then less than 24 hours later it was plus 5 degrees. So we're seeing these massive shifts in temperature, which is quite unusual and is causing all kinds of problems. At the moment, the cold has caused some significant issues, and employees of Árekstur, that was my best attempt, which is translates as collision.is, had been very busy this week, with well over 100 accidents registered since Monday, MBL reports, and Kristjansson, who's the managing director, says that far too many cars are unprepared for this weather, and that they're still seeing many people driving on summer tyres. In addition to this, a bus carrying 20 foreign tourists slid off of Route 1, the main road around Iceland, in the south at 7 p.m. yesterday. According to RÚV, the bus lost control on an icy bend, spinning off the road and ejecting several passengers. It seemed to be quite a serious incident at the time, but luckily it seems that actually the injuries are not severe. But, however, it was significant that the passengers, some of them, seemed not to be wearing seatbelts, and that's one of the reasons why they were actually ejected from the vehicle. So please stay safe if you're driving in this weather. Pay attention to the weather conditions. Always check Vedur, which we'll put links to this below. It's the main weather site, and road.is, and keep an eye on changing weather conditions. In the capital, people have also not been immune to the cold weather. A couple of days ago, 15 people were admitted to hospital due to ice-related injuries, some people who were suffering fractures, and at time of publishing yesterday, 8 further people had to seek treatment from the National University Hospital, Landspítali. So it's kind of crazy out there with the weather. Please, I'm as warmly dressed as I can be. I can't use gloves with this phone to check my notes, but I'm hoping that Art lets me back into the car soon to warm up. But do dress appropriately if you're travelling around. Make sure you're well stocked up in the car. Drive slowly. Stay safe. That's all the news from Iceland this week as part of Iceland News Review. I'm standing in for wonderful Andy, who's taking some time off, and I'll be with you all of this month, and we'll hopefully see you next week with some more exciting news from Iceland. Thank you to Blue Car Rental for sponsoring this episode of Iceland News Review. You can find their link and all others in the description of this video.